and the Board of Trustees committee meeting. We'll start this afternoon with Trustee Cushman, Education and Planning. Trustee Cushman, please go ahead and start your meeting. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you, Chairman Martin, and happy Groundhog's Day.
Excuse me, could we note that the time that we're calling it to order is at 4:30?
Yes, 4:30. We're calling together the Education and Planning meeting on February 2nd at 4:30. Penny. First order of business is to review the minutes from last month. Are there any questions, additions, corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, we'll move on with the enrollment report from Dr. Urbatus.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So you all received in your packet the enrollment update as of Friday, January 21st. And I am going to share numbers as of Friday, January 28th that are the most up-to-date numbers we have. So as of this past Friday, full-time headcount enrollment is up 1.1%, with FTE also up 1.1%. Part-time headcount enrollment is down 2.1%, and FTE as a result is down 3.6%. Overall total credit enrollment in terms of headcount is essentially flat with last spring we're down 0.2%, and FTE is down 0.1%. And as a reminder, this does not reflect Gemini enrollment or non-credit state aidable. Are there any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Urbatus. We'll move on to student success. Dr. Kaiser.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. I think this is part of your packet. So let's get to this. Can everyone see my screen? Great, thank you. All right, I'm going to start us off with a familiar slide. In the past, when I've talked about student success updates, I've used the same slide, but I focused on this side of the slide. We talked about expanded intake surveys. We've talked about our student call campaign. What I'm going to focus on today is this side of the slide. So our academic recovery plan, tutoring and academic supports, and our Starfish early alerts. I also will spend some time at the end talking about what I think is a really phenomenal initiative around an artificial intelligence chatbot. So some exciting stuff. Now at this point, usually at the beginning of the March Board of Trustees meeting, Sarah Whiffen, our AVP of Student Affairs, provides an update on academic standings. Sarah is inundated with work in terms of making sure our students are receiving and responding to SUNY vaccination and testing requirements. She's doing a great job, her and Dr. Ortloff. So I want to sort of publicly say they're doing great work and that we're all trying to do and assist where we can. So I'm going to provide the academic standings update, which it's actually very fun for me. So I love this work. So let's jump right into it. Academic standings. At the end of each semester, we run academic standings. So at the end of spring semester, we run academic standings to determine who is on academic probation and who's off academic probation. At the end of fall semester, we do the same thing. What I'm showing you today is the last 4 years for the fall academic standings. The take-home message from this slide is we're getting back to normal. That would be my sort of take-home message. So the total number of students impacted is this number. So at the end of fall 2021, we ran academic standings to determine how many students were either on academic probation, entering academic probation, continuing academic probation, or they were doing very well and they went off academic probation. It impacted a total of 691 students. So you could see this is starting to get back to fall 2019 would be the last normal fall, I'd say, prior to COVID. We have 59 students who went from academic probation to good standing. So this is a really good thing, and we want to increase this number as much as possible. But you could see compared to fall 2019, we're moving in the right direction. Academic probation total. This is the total number of students who are now on academic probation. 80 of those students are continuing, or we have 80 students continuing academic probation. And we dismissed 91 students for failure to make adequate academic progress. But the take-home message here is that the numbers are starting to get back to normal. So I'm going to pause there. The next slide has to do with our academic recovery plan, but I'm just going to pause there and find out if there's a quick question.
This is Jeff. Not so much a question as maybe as a comment. When I was looking at all of this, and especially at the different efforts that the college undertakes for student success, just to get in my own mind a kind of a trend analysis, I took the numbers of continuing academic probation or academic dismissal as a percentage of the total academic probation line. And if you did that in the fall of 18, it was 47%. In 19, it was 45%. In 20, it was 23%. And then last year it was 37%. And I wrote that some of that increase off to COVID. But what that started to tell me was that all the efforts and all the different programs and support services at different points along the line are having a real impact on being able to get kids off academic probation.
Thank you for making that analysis. That makes sense. Part of the reason is 2020 was such an unusual year because we didn't run academic standings at the end of spring 2020 because it was such an unusual year. And similar to all other colleges, we wanted to do as least harm to students as possible. So we had this inflated number. We didn't dismiss anyone at the end of spring 20. So we rolled all those students who were having difficulties into our fall 2020 numbers. And that's part of the reason why we see this inflated number in terms of the total number of the students who were on academic probation then. I'm going to move us to the academic recovery plan. This is an initiative that started basically last year. What we see up on top, these are students who did everything they were supposed to in terms of academic recovery. And these are students who really did little or nothing in terms of participating in the program. So when you go on academic probation, you receive an advising hold. So you can't change your schedule without meeting with an advisor, but many of those students have already been advised. And now we are communicating with them and saying, hey, you are on academic probation. These are the things and expectations we expect you to perform. And as a reminder, what this is they meet with an advisor. They go through this reflective tool where they're thinking about what happened, what went wrong, why did it go wrong? And then based on that, they're required to participate in at least 2 online modules that help students maybe manage their time better, to help them think about this is a strategy for studying math. So it's discipline specific and generic academic coaching plans or modules. And I guess the take-home message here is if you look at the percentages, if you participated in the plan, the higher percentage, you're much more likely to come off the plan. That's what we hope. And if you didn't, we still had students who came off of academic probation, but at a smaller rate. We're hoping to increase this. It's been really difficult communicating with students, and I'm going to get into that in just a little bit. But part of it is we are inundating our students with messages because of so many COVID-related requirements. And I think that's part of this. But these are our basic numbers around our academic recovery plan, students who are participating in it, and how well it's working. It's working, but I think we could get this working much more effectively. I'm going to pause there and find out if there's a question. What I want to move to in the next slide is our academic supports and tutoring. And sometimes I want to make sure that I'm telling you some of these great success stories, but I'm also sharing with you where we're having challenges and trouble points. And I think this is one of these examples where we're having a challenging environment. We looked at our utilization of our tutoring across all of our tutoring centers. What I'll show you on the next couple of slides are our math center, our writing center, science incubator. So we have 3 designated or dedicated, what I would rather call probably learning centers, right? It's about learning. So one dedicated to science, one math, one English composition around tutoring. And then selected subjects are for high challenge courses that might be one-offs, like we might have psychology tutoring. And we develop these tutoring supports in concert with our faculty who designate, say, I think we need a specialized tutor in this subject, X, Y, or B. So what I want to show in these is between our utilization rate is really declining. So students who sought total appointments, regardless of what center it is, math center, writing center, science, have really slowed down. I wouldn't say plummeted, but a significant decrease. And this is total number of appointments, unique students, and then in-person appointments. All appointments were in person in fall 2019 and fall 18, so that's why they're an NA. And this trend is persistent. So something's going on. Our students aren't taking advantage of the service at the same rate they were. So I thought, well, we now offer 24/7 tutoring through an online service called Thinking Storm. So is that filling the gap? And the fact is, we have seen an uptick, but we haven't seen that uptick that would meet this gap. So we see 161 lessons for fall 21. That still wouldn't get us to the difference in some of these different appointments. So if you look at the total number of appointments between fall 2019 and fall 21. So again, something's going on. So I thought, well, maybe our messaging is wrong. So I started looking at how we communicate with students. Is it our engagement? Are our faculty and staff less engaged? Well, if we look at Starfish usage and appointments, that's actually not the case. We're actually using Starfish as a tool to communicate with students much more robustly. So we're seeing a real significant increase in the number of appointments created through Starfish and the number of flags raised of concern. So these are number of flags raised in sort of concern flags. Kudos are like, you're doing a good job. So they're positive reinforcement. But we're utilizing this at a greater rate. So we're not exactly sure what exactly is going on. And our anecdotal information, our suspicion is we're inundating students with so many messages around COVID that probably our traditional messaging and communication tools to get students these services isn't working as effectively as it could. So we do have a strategy, and we have a very immediate strategy, but then there's sort of a long-term strategy that I'd like to start thinking about as well. So the most immediate strategy is leveraging this new tool. It's a ChatBot. A ChatBot is a text messaging program that simulates an artificial human interaction. So it's an SMS or text messaging bot that we implemented on January 19th. On January 19th, we sent over 2,000 student messages. Please take advantage of the service. And we had a 99% opt-in rate. Now that's high. EdSites is the vendor that we're using for this. They already had about a 98% opt-in rate. That's one of the reasons why we chose it. But our opt-in rate is even higher than what they purport in terms of average opt-in rate. So we're doing well. What this is, it provides customized and personalized text messaging or interactions with students in proactive and reactive ways. And by that, I mean we initiate conversations in proactive ways, but we train the tool to know our services. And then that's the reactive part. So we can engage in student conversations around this. Well, I'm going to be able to provide a lot more specific information to you in the future, because it's a wonderful tool that gives us a great dashboard. But just in terms of some basic updates from that message we were engaged in 667 text messages back and forth, meaning we sent a message to 2,000 students that resulted in 667 students reacting to it in some way. And I could give you some questions that they've been asking. The highest rated questions are around our academic calendar, our masking requirements, where our dining hall, how do they make payments, how do they, what are textbook requirements, and then this knows our services and it's able to interact with these students in a customized way. And the one success story that I really like from this, one of the students that we texted basically hadn't dropped, he thought he dropped all of his classes. So he responded saying, I'm not registered, I've dropped all my classes, I think this is a mistake. And it triggered a message from one of our advisors that we could reach out to this person and say, no, you didn't follow all the forms required, you're still registered for these classes. And through a series of communications, he thanked us for being proactive, for reaching out. He had thought he had sent this email or completed this form. He didn't. And what could have been, we would have billed this student. He would have been required to pay the bill or go through an appeal process. And what would have resulted in this probably lengthy ongoing interaction, we were able to resolve the issue and in a very positive way. And that it ended, that communication ended, hey, thanks so much, I really appreciate this sort of, he described it as this custom or personal interaction. And it reiterated this message, both to my team, that we're trying to leverage this high-tech solution to deliver a high-touch or personalized experience for our students. And is it perfect? No way. But we think it's a really good step in the right direction. And now that we know that our tutoring services aren't being utilized at the same rate for whatever reason, we're still not sure yet, we're going to use this as a tool to drive students to this support. So I'm going to pause there and find out if there's any questions.
Hi, this is Santa Abraham. I do have a question.
Hey, Santa.
Does this tie back to Starfish by any chance?
Yes. So that's a really great question. And one of the things that we're able to implement this tool so quickly, so we started these conversations right around Thanksgiving in November. We were able to implement this tool successfully by January 18th. And it's because we used the interface with Starfish to help bridge these gaps. So Chris Baldoni is one of our staff members in APCI. He's a real tech guru, writes code, and he was able to implement this solution in a way that it connects and shares and speaks to Starfish.
That's great. Thank you.
I'll be able to show you a dashboard that I just saw actually earlier today that actually has all of these different information in WebAdvisor and in Starfish, and basically our student information environment, so that we have this really robust information about students that we're interacting with through this chatbot. So it's a great, very timely question. Very good. Other questions? I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I get to see you.
Sorry, Jonathan, I had trouble getting unmuted there. That you said about, it said an average 5% persistence rate. Is that an increase of persistence rate? Oh,
Yes.
yeah,
Good.
I thought 5% is a pretty low rate for persistence.
Yes, that's a 5% increase. Thank you for making that clarification. And I just want to draw out the difference between sort of how some institutions refer to persistence as opposed to retention. Is persistence is typically course, so it's specific to a course, or it's specific to a term. It's not necessarily year to year, like fall to fall retention rate. It's how much the students persisted within that course, or from the beginning of the term to the end of the term.
Yeah, thank you for expanding on that.
Any other questions? I don't think I've been this excited about a technology tool in a very long time. This is really cool stuff. So stay tuned. I'm really excited about sharing some additional information with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Moving on to strategic thought presentation, FAFSA. Ms. Kennerknecht and Mr. Stever.
Hi, everyone. I don't see, oh, there's Matt. Okay. That's seeing all over you. So I just wanted to start the conversation with the FAFSA completion, introduce myself. I haven't met many of you. I'm Megan Kennerknecht. I'm the Director of Financial Aid here, and I've been here since about May. And then Matt, I'm sure they know you from previous, but.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you all again this evening. Happy Groundhog Day. Appreciate the time to join the meeting.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm going to share my screen here, and let me know if I go too fast or if we're doing okay here. But we wanted to give you an idea of what our FAFSA completion is looking like as of now, and what we're doing as the question was brought up. So we'll get started. The things we're going to talk about today are kind of where the trends are going, both in the country and also the state, and then also in FLCC's service areas. Also the strategic objectives, what we're working on, what things we're doing, and Matt will cover most of those. And then also the opportunities for growth. So knowing that we can always make things better and move forward. So we'll get started. The current national, every week, FAFSA completion rates are compiled, and as of the 14th of January, we have a national completion rate of about 31.4%. Now that is seniors in high school, so that's not looking at really the any continuing students, we're looking at the rates based on those high school graduates. And as of the 14th of January, national was 31.4%, and the New York State is 37% completion rate. So that's the number of students who have completed the FAFSA, gone through the process, and have submitted those. We're seeing year-over-year rates on this slide, and you can see how the yellow year, which is 22-23, is significantly lower than the previous years. However, it also, so the first section is the whole country, and then also we have just the New York rates and what those filing dates are along the bottom here. Pre-pandemic, things have actually fluctuated, but they've really generally stayed proportional to each other with New York State. The New York we're not far off from that average, but we are typically actually a little bit higher. Each year we have higher rates at the same point in time. So like in 2019-20, pre-pandemic, we had the national rate was 32.8. In New York, it was 39.7%. So we've been up ever since 2019, at least according to this data. We have been in line but higher than what the national rates are. In terms of different status and characteristics of FAFSA filers, they break it down between the school level, the income level, the concentration of students of color, and the geographic location. We can see in the high minority and low minority concentrations here that year over year, so this is looking at 2021 to 22 FAFSA completion versus the 22-23 FAFSA completion. And the percent change in high minority schools, which is 40% or more of Black or Hispanic students enrolled in that school. And then low is 40% or less than 40%. So there is a reduction of students of color filing the FAFSA in predominantly white schools. Socioeconomics also is an indicator that is looked at, us being in a rural region or in a rural area. So generally, the completion rates are lower among lower socioeconomic status and students of color, but it kind of depends on what type of high school they are attending at what those completion rates are. So this is a little skewed with that perspective. And we could go into a whole topic of why that is and all of the, systemic and equity issues that go along with that. But this is at least to give a broad representation of what we're seeing at a high level. So then in the FLCC service areas, we are, again, we're kind of in a unique position where we do a lot more outreach with high schools and then some other places. New York really pushes a lot of the SUNY financial aid days. We have FAFSA completion events. FLCC is unique where we have a FAFSA completion specialist, which is great. So we're able to really reach out to our different service areas and provide assistance with the FAFSA. And in our area, in our primary, I have the primary service areas in the blue, and then the secondary in the purple there. We've provided within these counties, we've provided various high schools with FAFSA nights in the fall over the years. And we're about half and half. About some of our schools are down and some of them are up in the FAFSA completion rates. And then we're still lower in our service area. Our completion rate is a little bit lower than what the national average is. So we're in an okay position and we're in line with where the rest of the country is. As of today, we have about 1,200 FAFSAs each year since, I would say, post-pandemic. We have been seeing a reduction in the number of FAFSAs we receive, but that can also be correlated with reduction in the high school graduation rates are lower and enrollment overall is lower. There was a little bit of an influx of FAFSAs during the 2021 year, but that may be explained by the pandemic and a lot of families, typically either the adults or the kids, instead of going directly into the workforce, or if they were displaced from the workforce, would be looking to go back to school. So that's where we would often see that increase in the FAFSA and looking at that for financial assistance in order to go back to school and improve their socioeconomic position. And then I'm going to hand it over to Matt. He's going to talk about the things that we've done on campus. And just let me know when you want me to move forward, Matt. You're on mute though.
24 months into this and we're still having this issue. Sorry, everybody. This might be a good break point as we move off of the data. If anybody has any questions about those slides before we kind of move into more of the strategy piece of the slide deck.
I do actually. This is Santa Abraham.
Sure.
Can you please remind me, is FAFSA a loan or a grant?
So FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. So it's just the application. It's just the application. So it is the kind of the gateway into being able to get a federal grant or federal student loan. A student has to apply for the FAFSA or for federal aid right off the bat in order to be considered even for state financial aid. So before they can even do the TAP application, Excelsior application, it kind of goes in a progression of doing the FAFSA, then the TAP application, and then if they're interested in Excelsior, doing Excelsior applications.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay, we will proceed. So thank you again, everybody, for letting us take a little time tonight in the meeting. We're going to transition into a little bit to talk through some of the strategies that our offices are working together to basically boost the needle to get more students in our service area and outside to complete the FAFSA. So we'll provide a little bit of information about the services, the resources, the communications, what we're doing with different influencers in the service area, in particular our school district partnerships, some of our CBOs as well. And then we're going to wrap with a little discussion about opportunities for growth. Next slide, Megan.
It did not go. There we go.
Okay, thank you. So like with some of the admissions presentations, which I have shared in the past, one of the things that we've been constantly revolving is how do we actually reach out to students and connect with them? So with everything going on, that's been the biggest challenge. So we've worked on different formats, different platforms, and this is kind of what we've settled on for the current academic year. But there's essentially two buckets that we serve out of. One is how do we work direct with student? And we do have, as Megan mentioned, we've got a dedicated part-time staff member, Lydia, that she conducts and she hosts and she manages FAFSA completion appointments. And these are conducted on site, face-to-face, and they're also conducted online via our Slate platform. And these happen, they're available throughout the week during the day primarily. What's important about that, though, is that students can register directly for these on our external website. So they don't have to go through a channel. They don't have to go through a school district. They don't have to go through an office. They don't have to call us to schedule it. They have direct access. They can sign up on their own time. They can find an available slot. And then there's communications that are wrapped around that to prepare them for their meeting ahead of time. And that's something that our two offices are working on, expanding out. How do we cross-train the admission staff to get involved with this so that we can do more of it? And that's all on the table right now. The other piece is, we've been doing webinars, which are, they're online, they're like this, we do them in the evening. We have seen declining attendance and participation, especially over the last year. People are sick of this. They want to be face-to-face, that's no secret for anybody. But one of the strategies we've done is we've combined. In the past, we had an admissions 101 session and a financial aid session. We merged them together and made an admissions and financial aid workshop. And we've had admissions and financial aid counselors come together to present collaboratively. So that has helped out a little bit, but this is probably something that we're going to wean off of moving forward. But one of the things that's useful about it is they're recorded and they live on the website and they live on our YouTube channel. And again, students can grab those, they can digest them when they want to on their time. So if it's in the evening, they can go click on it and watch half of it and then come back to it later. So that ability for students and people in the community to get content on their own terms when they want it is extremely valuable. And that's how we're trying to package this information. So next slide. So in terms of what we are proactively bundling and marketing and producing and sharing with the community, there's a couple different platforms, and we're using Slate for a lot of this as well. One of the things that we've stood up this year in particular, we've actually become more organized with it, is that every month at the first of the month, what we do is we go and grab everybody who is newly admitted for the last 4 weeks. And we've got 3 communications that are built and go out to them. So it's usually the first Sunday of the month. There's a parent communication that goes out to anybody who's admitted under the age of 24. And this comes from Carol, and it speaks to affordability and access, and it includes encouragement to applying for scholarships and filling out your FAFSA. Then about an hour later, we have it timed out that the student receives a similar message, but it's unique to them, congratulating them, welcoming them to the family, encouraging them to do the next steps for enrollment, including completing their FAFSA paperwork. Then about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a text goes out to the students and it says, student, congratulations on your acceptance. Check your email and then go to the preparing to attend page, which then drives them again to that information about what they need to do next, including completing the FAFSA form. So right now we're in scholarship season. We just dropped an email last week that went out to the applicant pool for fall 22 about how to apply for scholarship. Included in that is messaging about affordability and the FAFSA form as well. I got my postcard in the mail just this week. So anybody who has submitted an application but has not filed a FAFSA, Megan worked with Kristen in marketing and created a flyer that went out. So you don't even have to open it. It's an 8x5 double-sided sheet about value, affordability, and completing the financial aid process for the college. Now we've also incorporated all of this message into our publications, our presentations. When a student comes to campus, we give them a packet. And included in that packet is our review book. And we have a whole spread on financial aid and how to apply for it and access and all these people here that can help you out with it. When we present, all of our slide decks contain the same information. When we go out into the community, we have a smaller version. It's a mini view book that includes the same contact info. We also have worked with Katya Yagnik, who's one of our admissions counselors who used to work in the financial aid office. She's bilingual, so we craft out Spanish language versions of this as well, so that we can hit as many people in the community as possible.
And
So-
our FAFSA specialist is bilingual as well, which has been incredibly helpful for a lot of our families.
You're right, so yeah, Katya is the best. Questions?
Yeah, Barb Hamlin. Do you have to have applied and gotten through the whole FAFSA program to get a scholarship through the foundation?
No, those are separate.
Okay,
entirely.
thank you.
But with that though, Megan and I, we tag team that process along with the development office. and we were laughing because we met about it last week in terms of organizing and producing and how we select the recipients for it. Actually, we can entertain more questions before we move on.
Sure, Matt. This is
Yeah.
George.
Hey, George.
So everything I've seen over the years up here, I applaud what FLCC is doing. I think they're really doing an outstanding job. It's really difficult because it almost gets down to like guerrilla warfare. You have to go in and grab the kids to get them and the parents. But there's a stigma associated with applying for the FAFSA. There's a lot of suspicion on the part of parents because they have to get involved. They have to provide their financial information, their tax returns. So the question is, not thinking about how much more you all can do, because that's very limited. And this is a very short kind of time frame that you have to do this. What resources could help be leveraged to out in the community to better inform parents and kids, both of them, about this and get a larger participation rate? My concern is I think we're getting the best we can out of what we're getting in the door. My concern is how we get more in the door.
Megan, do you want to take the lead on that? And actually, if you move to the next frame, we talk about what we're doing in the community.
Yeah. And I can address some of that. One of the things that I have been involved with since I started in financial aid has been a lot of our professional associations like NYSFA, and which is the New York State Financial Aid Administrators Association. And then there's also SUNY FAP, which is the SUNY Financial Aid Professionals Association. Both of those organizations and HESC, so New York State's Higher Education Services Corporation, we're very acronym heavy in higher ed and especially in financial aid. So, and with SUNY, there's a lot of FAFSA completion events. There's a lot of outreach that's done for kind of middle school on up. We have been, at least I can speak for NYSFA and SUNY FAP, we've been working on ways to be able to get into that kind of junior high level and communicate with that level of student and their families to kind of reduce that stigma and reduce the stigma of going to a community college in general. Is one of the things. And then also, in looking at that affordability, looking at why to file the FAFSA, because some schools won't even look at you for a scholarship if you haven't even filed a FAFSA. So it opens up some doors there. It may help, a student be able to be picked for certain programs and services at the college level. So trying to communicate that message to the junior high level before they even get to the high school level. There's a lot of information that I think we can fine tune our messaging and what it's really like to go to college and what you're doing in high school and junior high, how that impacts college. So I know at least on the professional association level, it's an area that we are trying to really push some efforts. I hope that kind of explains a little bit of what we do. And, a lot of the things that we're doing locally that could really benefit FLCC, we'll have on this slide.
One of the things that we've really started to work on right now, there's two parts. One is when I talk to my team and I train my staff when they're going to do a presentation, the very first thing we talk about is the purpose and function of a community college is to serve our area. It's to serve our students, it's to serve our employees, it's to serve organizations. And even if you don't want to come to FLCC, we can still help you out. So that is a fundamental piece of how we need to communicate about FAFSA in particular. Even if this isn't the place for you, we can still get you there wherever you want to go. But the other piece is that as we've worked with districts over the past couple of years through the pandemic, they're in emergency mode. Like they are full-time dealing with stuff that has nothing to do with their everyday business of this in particular. And when we talk to the guidance counselors, and we do have a school counselor advisory board, which I spearhead, and it meets a couple times a year, the very first question is, what can we do to help you guys? You know, how can we get this content out? What's the format? What's the palatable way? What resource can we be for you? So that partnership is critical right now because they don't need us asking them to send information out to people because they're overrun right now. It's got to be a partnership. And that it's really been interesting because they're the ones that told us, well, save that webinar in a certain format and give it to me so I can put it on my Blackboard site. You know, those are the things that we can do to filter information out through the district in a palatable format that's easy for them to get out. And they know how their students and their parents are going to digest it the right way. So, George, I think that discussion, that's the way, if we look at our service area school districts, is one channel that we can do just that. The other one is some of the community partnerships, which come up in the next slide, which we do have staff that are dedicated and members of. I think I went through most of this. I mean, the district e-news piece, that goes out once a month. Lenore's group pushes that out. You know, we always include announcements, information, details on how students can apply for aid, different things that are coming up. We profile students that have been successful and received scholarship. I know that in the past, when we were face-to-face, we had a more robust, you know, workshop on, you know, boots on the ground in terms of workshops and financial aid nights. You know, we've tested those virtually. We're looking to get back in the game with those once the districts can open up our doors for us. So this is going to be a way for us to do just what you're talking about.
Yeah, Matt, and I think Sim, I think, put a real good item in the chat, and that was about leveraging community organizations. And when we're dealing with, in most cases, families that don't necessarily look like us, and they come from different backgrounds, to be able to have relatable folks approaching them, as opposed to a highly polished admissions.
Hey.
Hi, this is Santa Abraham. I have another question. Is FAFSA one and done, or do students have to submit it every year?
Every year, it needs to be submitted. So it opens up October 1st of every year, which is new in the last 4 years. It did open up in January. So there have been some pretty big changes to the FAFSA, but October 1st is the first day that it is available for the upcoming year. So that's why we already have some 22-23 data in there. And for the 2022 year, it's looking at 2020 income. So it looks at 2-year-old data instead of what it used to be, where it used to be just prior year data. So it's somewhat old, and it's kind of unique, or kind of it's going to be interesting to see what we see for 2020 aid eligibility based on the pandemic and a lot of the job loss that we saw. So it does open up the possibility of having more people eligible for certain types of aid, specifically the grants, especially. So, which we're hoping, so then more people can get those grants.
Thank you.
And it is supposed to be getting more simpler or simpler. I sorry, moved those words around a little bit. But there is FAFSA simplification coming, where families are being asked less and less, basically, because a lot of times it's seen as, you know, it doesn't have the most friendly method of looking at eligibility, or a realistic view of what families can actually afford. So it's something that we are looking forward to, where we don't have to really be drilling already low-income students with prove how poor you are. So we're looking forward to that in a few years. 24, 25 is supposed to be the year. So
Thank you.
Okay, Megan, I'll hand the baton back to you to finish up the back end of the
Alright.
day. Thank you.
So, and we talked about the community partnerships a little bit. So we do have representation on RCAN, the Rochester College Access Network. We also, myself, a couple of the other counselors have participated in their FAFSA events as well. So where a student can come in to a virtual arena and actually break off into a room with a financial aid professional, ask their questions, and get some guidance on how to follow that. So we volunteer regularly for those. We did host SUNY Financial Aid Day on campus this year. And then we also, two of our counselors did the virtual events that SUNY also provided or offered to people in the fall. And then we're still getting asked to do some of those FAFSA completion nights that New York State and SUNY are initiating. So we offer those. The other, on our financial aid nights, we had one counselor who, John, did 5 this past fall. So went into 5 local high schools and did FAFSA events. I did 1 virtual, another counselor did 3 virtual, and 1 in person. So we are very actively doing those. No, and then so to talk about a little bit of the opportunities for growth and what we can do to even get even more out into the community is it really enhance the FAFSA completion specialist role. I think the pandemic has kind of put a hiccup in some of our initiatives there, and then some staffing changes. So we've been working on trying to simplify the process of just scheduling an appointment. So Matt and I worked together with Lydia, our FAFSA completion specialist, to get her some scheduling that people can just go right on our website and sign up for an appointment with her. A lot of them have been virtual, but since she's been back in the office, we've been seeing a lot more traffic for in-person appointments as well. And then also being able to be here for just a walk-in appointment and questions for the FAFSA. One of the areas that we're looking to develop is a little more intentional relationship building within the campus. So working a little bit closer with especially like access programs in order to increase our completion rate and more timely completion of certain groups of students, specifically EOP, and working and having smaller group workshops with them. But then also in relation to the FAFSA workshops that we want to be able to offer, there's also a process called verification where we have to ask for a whole bunch of information from the family to verify what was input on the FAFSA. Not everyone is selected for that process, but typically it's about 20% of the FAFSAs that we receive. Typically will get selected for verification. So we have to ask for additional information and it can be a cumbersome process. So we want to make sure that we are reaching out to the students and being proactive to get some of those materials into us. And also then finally we want to research the potential for a peer financial aid assistant program within the office. The thought there is kind of to what George was saying, is to have people that look like other students. As much as I want to say I look the age of a college student. I know I do not. And I cannot necessarily relate to, today's college student the way that a peer would, or someone going through this process. So being able to leverage our work study dollars to be able to create this program where students can get paid in order to be able to help their peers complete FAFSAs, understand the verification workshops, be able to put it into student terms, what they need to do and how they need to do it in order to complete files, because it's not just the matter of completing the FAFSA. There might be a multitude of documents that student still needs to be able to provide in addition to the FAFSA in order to solidify their aid. So it's something that, is kind of on the wish list, and look into it, see how other schools are using that type of a model in order to help students feel a little more connected to the office and their financial aid. So those are some of the areas, and Matt, if there isn't anything else you wanted to add, thank you for your time and having us here. Sorry to keep you a little bit later.
Any other questions for Matt and Megan? Matt and Megan, thank you. So important for equitable access and to a higher education, and ultimately to our community in Ontario County for sure, because this drives future success for the county as well. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
With that, we conclude the meeting for education planning. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
This is Santa, I motion.
Thank you, Santa.
George, this is Joan. I second.
Thank you, Joan. I'll turn it over to Trustee Askels.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm substituting for Trustee Cass this evening for the Finance Committee. So I'll call the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting to order. The first order of business is the minutes. Whether anybody has any comments or questions regarding those minutes? Okay, thanks very much. The other first order of business is a budget update and the finance report. And Adam, I think, is on board to do that.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to share my screen real quick. Give me a moment. There we go. So this is it's going to be a fairly short report this evening. That's good news, I guess, considering there's nothing really to highlight, right? So first thing is financial report. We are 33% into the fiscal year. Revenues received year to date equate about 45%. This falls in line with how revenues are received during the fiscal year. Again, majority of our revenue is tuition and fees, which is generally received at the beginning of semesters. So you'll see an influx at the beginning of each semester, and then it kind of phases out. So the 45% compared to where we stand with the budget is on par with the fiscal year. The one thing I do want to point out is our state aid line right here. To date, we've received about $3 million. The next state aid payment is being held up, and it's being held up because we have not submitted our annual report yet with SUNY. The annual report is held up because we need the information that is contained within the trial balance. That trial balance is conducted during the audit process. We've had a little hiccup during the audit process as far as balancing our assets. Christine and Bonadillo have been working very hard at that, and they have pretty much completed that process and moving on to the next stage. So once we have that trial balance back, we'll be able to update the annual report for SUNY, submit that, and then those state aid payments will be released.
On the expense side, down here, we are right in line with completion of the year, 33% of the budget, and we have expensed roughly 32% of the budget. This is in line with how we expect the expenses to go. Most of our expenses are a monthly occurrence, mostly fall within salaries and benefits. And you will see that most of these percentages within the expense lines are pretty well within line of where we're at fiscally within the budget. So that really highlights everything from a financial report standpoint. There are no things that really stand out that kind of sorry, it's a little feedback there, I guess. So that's good news. Nothing really highlight on that. I will point out real quick an update from the audit, Bonadeo, since we just discussed a little bit of their process. As I said, there was a little bit of hiccup in doing the balancing their assets. That has been complete. So it pushed back the schedule slightly, but they are back on track now, and they are working hard to get the financial audit completed. Bonadeo is scheduled to give a brief to the Finance and Audit and ERM Committee on February 28th, and a full Board of Trustees update on March 2nd. So look for those that information be coming down the line. And that's all I had for a.
So Adam, I had a question
Yes.
underneath revenue and specifically non-credit. I'm just curious, is that a timing issue with regard to some of those dollars? I mean, you see that budget, that revenue item that we set aside fully being realized throughout the year?
Yeah. I believe it is a timing issue. Again, I haven't been here a full year to really understand the streams as they come in throughout the fiscal year, but my understanding is, yes, that is more of a timing issue at this point in time. And that will ramp up as we get towards the end of the spring semester into the summer of the fiscal year.
Thanks.
Any other questions regarding Adam's presentation or the numbers? If not, thanks very much, Adam. Do you want to move on to the facilities update?
Yes, I will. Kathy could not be here tonight for a prior engagement. So I'm just going to give some brief highlights. Not a whole lot of action again in January. Nursing expansion project is moving along well. Visually, as last time, there was a lot of photos presented of the status, which is a very good indication of where we're moving forward to the project. Not a whole lot of change since then, but they are working very hard. And the one thing that I do want to give credit to is the team that is running this project. Yeah, I think Kathy did highlight, steel being a problem in sourcing steel and the lead time. It's hats off to that team, both internally and externally, for keeping this project on task because of, sourcing of material. It's one of the biggest challenges I think that we face in the operational side is sourcing that material. So with this project still being on target with a time to completion, I think it's a testament to their project management skills and being able to really focus on the long term and procuring of those materials so that this project can remain on task. We hope to have some more exciting updates to include photos of the progress at the next Board of Trustees meeting. Secondly, winter is upon us, and it is challenging not only from the standpoint of snow removal, but from cold weather as well. We did have a minor water line break in one of our heat pump systems, which caused the closure of the entrance by the flagpole. So we not only have to deal with weather conditions outside as far as snow, but also the effects of those conditions on our infrastructure. So we not only do short-term fixes, we can sometimes put in preventative measures as well. In this case, with the water line, we put in isolation valves on that so that next winter when it gets really cold, we can be proactive and isolate that prior to another water line break. That break there's not a lot of heat in that area. Obviously, it's near a doorway. So the cold weather got to it and just created a crack and leaked in the area. So next, the one thing that I'm going to cover in the next Board of Trustees meeting, but just want to kind of put it on the radar, is our 5-year capital request. This goes from the county up to SUNY. It's a request that is submitted to SUNY in which they fund 50% of that request. In the next fiscal year, some of the projects include electrical panel replacements, mechanical equipment replacement. In this case, on this one, it's the gym HVAC unit, and general site and space improvements. Total projects for fiscal year 22-23 total $1 million, with $500,000 coming from SUNY. So next Board of Trustees meeting, we will I'll share that in the board packet, as well as and Kathy will be on board as well to really run through that and show what our capital plan is for the next 5 years. And just a quick update in the campus master plan. It is in the final review with the county, and we hope to go out to bid soon. This will allow us to begin the project either late spring or early summer. And that's what I have on the facility side.
Just one quick question, Adam, regarding the construction of the nursing facilities. Have there been material price increases that might affect the budget that was established for that?
Yes, there has been material price increases, but any project, regardless of pandemic or anything, always builds in contingency costs. And these are costs that don't have any associated expenses tied to them from the beginning. They can be used for anything, whether it's consulting, engineering, redesigns. In this case, we do have contingency in place to cover increases in material costs. I don't know what that percentage was in this, as I wasn't on board.
That was going to be my question. Okay.
Yeah, I can find that out. Typically, in my previous job, we built in anywhere from 15 to 20% in contingency.
Ooh, okay.
In larger projects, it did add up. But in a lot of instances, it really did kind of save the project because we didn't have to really go out and find a large funds to move forward.
Yeah.
I don't know what the practice is, at the college or the county or the state level, but I can certainly find out what that contingency dollar is.
I was just curious, whether we had a contingency and then what the percentage was. I doubt it was 15 to 20, but it
Right.
might have been 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
This is Rob. It was 5%.
5. Okay.
Okay. So some margin, but not a huge one.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Adam regarding the facilities? Okay, if not, we'll move on to our annual event for the security and fire report. Is Derek on board?
I am. Hi, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Here we are. Okay. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You want to provide us with an overview of this report?
I would love to. This is one of the most exciting topics I think you guys will cover all year long, and I'm glad that I'm the one that can do it for you. Let me just get a second. I believe this was sent to you, but I think I can just share my screen here. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Can you make it a little larger?
I'm not sure how to make that larger.
Okay, that's all right.
If you go to the top, Derek, if you go to the top,
Derek,
Derek, and you hit the plus sign to the middle of the page, it says 100. Keep going. Yep, keep going to your perfect.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, not a problem. So I'd like to just start off with, as you can see, I'm on page 65 already. So this is in total a 66-page report. And the first 62 pages are just really informational stuff for incoming students. And nothing changed from the previous year other than a few names and phone extensions to reach those individuals. So in lieu of going through all 62 pages with you, I would encourage you all at some point to pick that up and go through it. I'd like to just point out that this is the 2021 annual security report. So the way the security reports is it's the 2021 report in which we are reporting our statistics for 2020. I am the acting chief of campus police right now. And if I was trying to fool all of you, I would try to put this on my resume that we just curbed crime in all stats for this year. But what I want to point out is that keep in mind, this is for 2020, and we shut down in March of 2020 as the start of the pandemic with COVID. So for a vast majority of the reporting year in 2020, we had no crimes on our campus. So I did reach out to other community colleges just to make sure that it wasn't us as a fluke, and I can confirm that this is across the board something that's very common, because most institutions were shut down for a vast majority of 2020 or a very limited on-campus presence. So you can see for 2020 right here, there's lots of zeros across the board. And that's good. That's great. There's no major issues to report on campus. The biggest issue that we have is our liquor law referrals. You can see this down here.
Mhm.
Those 29 numbers, I can assure you, they don't typically come from just people drinking on campus in the hallways or in the parking lot. We do have to include any liquor law referral for any of our CMAC events, because it is on campus, and we do have the suites that we did have some students living at the suites in the course of 2020. So we did have some to report, but nothing major. The one thing I do want to point out for next year, when we're giving this update next year, is to not be shocked when we see that there are no longer zeros across the board, because we're slowly returning to normal and we're slowly getting people back on campus. So that by nature just opens up the door for more incidents to occur. I don't anticipate as of right now any major shocking numbers to occur, but there will obviously be a sharp increase from this report as we are, somewhat back to normal on campus. This was successfully posted online. It's on our website. This is on the campus police webpage. We did that with the Department of Education on time. Everything was done as it should, and there were no issues. Other than that, if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to field them. The fire report is also attached on page 66. I can certainly open that up and share it with everyone. But again, you can see normally in our fire reports, we kind of have 2 or 3 pages worth of this. Again, for this year, because there were not that many people living in the suites for a vast majority of the year, we really didn't have a lot to report. There were no major fire issues. As you can see, most of them were all from smoking. Cooking, which is, I guess, common at the suites. We see the fire department over there quite a bit, especially the first couple of weeks of each semester. And other than that, that's our report for 2021. And I'd be more than happy to field any questions if there are any.
Any questions? If not, thanks for the report and thanks for
Yeah.
providing it ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for your time.
Okay, thank you. Couple of informational items on the agenda. One is bid renewal for janitorial services. Adam, you want to address that briefly?
Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. This is the first of 2 renewals available. It's for janitorial services for the campus centers. Total cost, annual cost is $44,352. And again, the first of 2 bid renewals.
Okay, any questions regarding that? Okay, if not, Adam, is there anything unique about the budget transfer report?
No, not at this time.
Okay, any other items to come from the committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, Barb, thank you. Second, Rich, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Folks, we will take a break until 6 p.m. We'll begin promptly at 6 p.m. See you in 17 minutes. Thanks. Good evening. Welcome back, everyone. Officially calling to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees of February 2nd, 2022 of Finger Lakes Community College. It is now 6 p.m. and we have a full agenda in front of us. This is our community public comment opportunity. And although I don't see anyone online, I'd still like to read our statement that we, the Board of Trustees, value input from members of our college community. We encourage your participation. And if you'd like to speak, please do so. Identify yourself if you would, and we'd welcome your comments at this time. Would anyone like to share their thoughts with the trustees during this community comment portion? Seeing nor hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Please, a motion and a second so we can get that on the floor. A motion, please. I see a hand by Barb, thank you, and a second by George. Comments or questions with regard to the consent agenda? Thank you, Penny, for sending that along in advance. Seems to be pretty straightforward and clear this month. Questions and comments from the trustees? No? All those in favor, please raise your hand or signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Thank you. 8-0. Old business. I'll just comment on the cyber training. I know the cybersecurity training. Thank you, Dr. Nye, for putting that out there. I've completed it. I encourage you all to do the same, if you would, so that we have an opportunity to complete that fulfillment. It's pretty straightforward, and yes, it was less than 30 minutes. So I can tell you, I did it in about 24, 25 minutes. So pretty harmless, if you will, but also informational. So thanks for sending that along. Any new business to bring in front of the trustees at this meeting? I'll move to the chair's report. Thanks for all your feedback. We have put together a retreat agenda for the 18th of February. We'll talk about middle states. We'll hear from Dr. Ortloff. Trustees Mahalik and Abraham will spend a little bit of time on board development. Adam, financial update. We'll talk about student success. There'll be a discussion amongst us as trustees, and then guided pathways with Dr. Kaiser will complete our day. We're also going to have a bit of an open forum at the end. I know some of you had some ideas about future topics and future subjects. Trustee Hamlin, I know you had one. I know Trustee Donna had one as well. So we'll go ahead and do that at the very end with a little bit of an open forum. It'll give us an opportunity to construct future agendas. So I think Penny and Rob, I think we're ready to go with that agenda. We could get that out to the trustees, any advanced information prior to the 18th. And again, we'll be virtual, but certainly there'll be a little bit of homework and some thought with regard to that retreat, especially around student success. We're going to want each to reflect. It'll be a very interactive and engaged conversation. So no one will go silent. We'll give each of you an opportunity to participate. So we'll give you a little bit of direction there so you can think and reflect on student success and what it means to you as a trustee as we go forward with some of our visioning and planning. So thanks to all of you for your feedback and to Joan as well for helping construct that agenda. We really appreciate it. That's all I have for a chair's report. Dr. Nye, we give you an opportunity to share your president's report. Please, if you would.
Well, thank you, Chairman Martin. And first off, I'll say also a thanks to John Taylor and Rick Lenoditz for putting the pressure on me to get the board here to get your cybersecurity training done. And I do have to highlight to you, if you haven't taken it, it's one of the most illuminating self tutorials that you'll ever see in terms of really learning some interesting things that might keep more than just John awake at night. So I would like to just highlight a couple things from our report. One of them is the reason I started out that way as well is we have a key search, at least from where I sit, that we're getting started on, which is the search for a new chief information officer, working with Michelle in terms of a search firm. I'm not sure how far we'll get because of the competitive nature and where we're at. We may not have to, we may not be able to use a search firm, but we'll keep you up to date in terms of how we do that. I just wanted to put out, you hear a lot about COVID. There'll be another COVID message out tonight and everything. And I think we've done a great job of messaging about COVID to folks, probably to ad nauseum, but then that's okay. But I wanted to put out from my report just how thankful I am for the number of people that are working on the requirements that have to be accomplished that have been put on us at the last moment again for this semester from the governor's office. And so Deborah Orloff is on the line, Sarah Whiffen, and a number of other people have been instrumental in helping us, but it's everyone. It's you all too. We need to get our students boosted. We're down to Deborah, I was told earlier today or yesterday, 246 left out of 1,400. And if you want to talk about chasing stray cats, it's something. Go ahead, Deborah.
207, hot off the presses.
Good. So the reason I'm saying that is there's a heck of a lot of work that has been done that we should be very proud of. We are either ahead of our peers, according to Deborah in the latest SUNY update for the safety folks, or right where we should be, which is good. It's the right thing to do. So thank you for everyone for doing that. But it goes back to, I'm really tired of this too. It's time for us to focus on our core mission. The more we can do that, the earlier we can do that, the better, based on the reports you received earlier from Jonathan. I wanted to highlight budget advocacy for a minute. You'll be receiving a form letter. Lewis is working on it now in terms of an advocacy letter to push out to all of our stakeholders at FLCC to get with our state legislative representatives. It's really important that we receive the floor that we talked about. Just a reminder, what that means is that our budget would be set at a certain level, like the 4 years are, rather than enrollment. So if enrollment goes down, we still have stable funding. There are two other things that are really important, three actually. We didn't talk about it, but it'll be important later on for that FAFSA that we'll have to tap into if this gets approved. The governor's report is allowing us to get state aid, to TAP aid, for part-time students now who take 6 credits or more. It's really important. So it's another market, George, as we were talking about, that we can plug in to help people get aid, and it'll be important down the road. The other two things that'll be in the advocacy, though, will be the childcare. The governor put in $5.4 million for additional funding for childcare, but it's mostly for building facilities for the community colleges that don't have a childcare center, and that's kind of backwards, because $5.4 million is not going to go very far in 30 community colleges, or 10 or 15 that need it. It's only going to be won't even be a down payment. So we're going to be asking for additional childcare funds. It's been flat for at least since I've been here. And then finally, we want focus on the high school equivalency education that the State Department, New York Department of Education has dictated that we cannot use digital learning anymore for the high school equivalency activities. We lost around 100 students out of that, and that's huge, because now we're making those students go back to places like campus centers or our campus to have to go get their high school equivalency, and that's ridiculous. We proved that you don't need that, so we're going to advocate for that as well, and you'll see that. It's important for you to know. Before I move any forward, any questions on that? Thoughts on the advocacy period?
So Dr. Nye, if I could just add to this, and I know if Trustee Mihalik was here, she'd certainly speak to this. NYCCT does a wonderful job in advocating for us as well. But I recall Assemblyman Morelli, when he was an assemblyman, of course, now he's a congressman, saying how meaningful it was to hear directly from trustees. So as you and Lewis start to construct some of those messages, please, fellow trustees, if you can reach out to our local representatives, it really is important for us to hear and connect with them directly. So we'll certainly try to do that. Thanks.
Thank you. And there may be some opportunities where we might pick you up and take you with us, or pick you up virtually as well. So we'll keep you up to date on that. I just want to highlight two great activities that are going on. And the first one, and I've written about it here in my report, but the GRID program, based on the Bridges World Grant program, and the great work that Jonathan Kaiser's team and especially Todd Sloan have done, are phenomenal. And the leveraging of John Taylor and our technology to be able to have a hybrid type of activity in a rural community is huge. And so we're having our first grit program that started up, 16 registrants, and 50 of them are WIOA with students, which is really good because it's funded. But when you talk about it, there are 2 different sites and hybrid distance. That's phenomenal. And now we need to take that next step and get those folks jobs afterwards, after we do that. And it's going to be a big difference of another way that we're proving the validity of what we do, which is transforming lives in many different ways. So I wanted to highlight that program and kudos to the team that's been working so hard on that. And that included Board of Trustees that were involved in the Bridges activities. And that's important. Lastly, the Lake House in Canandaigua, we're working with the county right now to get some stimulus funds for them to actually run the certificate program we've mentioned before with the Lake House with $175,000 from their stimulus funds. Why? It's a kickstart to get a partner involved to then help pay for students to get a great education certification program with our culinary and hospitality students. And that'll be going through the Ways and Means Committee very soon so that we could potentially get that kicked off in this coming year. So really great efforts. Another example of trying to partner with the county in ways that are important. That one, in terms of pushing that, I had a discussion with the county administrator where, when are we going to partner together on different things that are important to both of us? And we're working on that with grants. We're very thankful and fortunate to have Mary Beth Phillips, our new grant writer, on board. And my discussion with Administrator DeBolt recently, we are going to start working on how do we create opportunities in economic development and social services to be able to make a difference. We have students that are in campus gate apartments from social services that are putting there for housing. Why are we not connected to them to get those people that are being helped by social services into our workforce programs or into our academic programs in the same way we do our high school equivalency programs? So we're going to be working on that. And I think we've made huge strides to work with the county in the future on things of those activities, and that they're going to give $175K for us to kickstart that program with the Lake House. That's big. So I just wanted to really acknowledge the efforts of the county in this as well, in terms of trying to build the type of relationship and partnership we need to really synergize our efforts for our citizens of the county. That's my report. Thank you for allowing me to pontificate.
Questions of President Nye with regard to his written or verbal report? Okay, thanks very much. Appreciate that. We'll move to the committee and liaison reports and start with Trustee Sophie Marshall, if you would. Sounds like some exciting news and in terms of participation. So rather than steal your thunder, thanks for the written report, and maybe you can highlight some of the activities going on. Please, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. My report is really short this month, but it's really, really positive and exciting. A couple things I wanted to highlight. The ChatBot has been a really big success so far. There's a 99% opt-in rate. Another thing is we had a spring orientation for the new students that was really successful. The students were really excited to start this semester, and they asked a lot of great questions. I wanted to get involved. I wanted to thank the department chairs for coming to that and volunteering their time for the faculty breakouts. It was really, really successful. And then the one last thing is we have done the Women's Initiative on Leadership events over the past couple of years a bunch of times, and they're coming out with a new version that will be starting this semester. Called the Warrior Series, and there's going to be more information coming out on that event soon. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you. Sophie, questions of Trustee Partial? I have one. The Warriors series that you're talking about, is that a inclusive college program event, or is it open to the community at large, or is that something you're still determining?
As far as I know, I believe it's just for the college. I think some of the difference between it and the Women's Initiative on Leadership is that there's a WebEx option. So I'm not sure if that means that more people from the community can come in, but I can definitely get you information on that once you find out more.
Yeah. And I think we're all just kind of interested. 99% opt-in. I've never seen such a thing. Why do you think, from your perspective, why that was so well received?
I don't know. I don't know why.
I mean, that's an unheard of number. That's just really incredible. It's
Yeah, when Jenny and I
not
were
something that's
talking
common.
when Jenny and I were talking about what I should put in my report and just like talking through it, and she told me that, and I was like, what? That's a very high number. But yeah, I don't know. Part of me thinks maybe because like so many of the programs are still online, and I know the chatbot is like an online thing. So maybe people just like being more online would make them more like likely to use it. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head, but
Well, good. Well, thank you. And thanks for all you do in representing the students' interest. You're the very reason why we exist and why we're here. So we really appreciate your efforts. Thanks very much.
thank you. Thank you.
Moving on to the ERM and Audit Committee, trustee Ensels.
And nothing significant to report other than what Adam mentioned earlier, and that is that we're looking forward to the audit report with the committee on the 28th of this month, and then at the Board of Trustees meeting in March.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Board Development, Trustee Abraham.
Just wanted to ask everyone that once you do receive the information on the retreat and the policy, please go ahead and review it. And so we're prepared to really discuss it during our retreat. Also, I am working with Donna to see which policy we're going to develop next. Thank you.
Okay, questions? Thank you. The association update. Trustee Hamlin, thank you for your written report. We appreciate it. Anything you'd like to add to that?
That pretty well covers it. Carol's organizing a new executive director. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carol.
Is there a timeline for that process, or you're just starting it?
Yeah, Carol has a tight timeline. I don't know why I'm getting.
We have the first meeting of the search committee is scheduled to occur tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And the timeline basically has finalists on campus in March. So the goal would be to have a new executive director on campus by mid-April to the end of April. And that is assuming we have a successful search outcome. Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Okay, questions? Seeing none. The foundation, Trustee Geis.
I don't have anything unless Louis would like to add anything about Vintners and Valentines or anything like that.
Yeah, I'll just give a quick update on V&V. Everyone, we have, as of this afternoon, 6 in-person tickets left. We will sell out probably with the 150 people cap, probably in the next 48 hours. So that's great news. And we're still moving forward with our quasi-hybrid event. Thank you.
That's terrific. Thanks very much. The NYCCT, both Trustee Donna and Don are not with us, so no update this particular month. Student Corp, Trustee Cushman.
Nothing to report this month.
Wow, we flew right through not only those committees, but my goodness gracious, 18 minutes for a full board meeting. What other business do we need to bring in front of this august group of trustees? Anything that we missed, Dr. Nye or Penny?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Nothing here. Nothing here.
So if you would allow me, I do need to read the next step. We are going to head into an executive session. We will return after this executive session to a public portion before we close the meeting, just for those that are interested. Next is an executive session to discuss matters regarding collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, New York State Public Officers Law, Article 7, Section 105, letter E as in Edward. Please a motion and a second to enter an executive session. Thank you, George. Motion and a second, please. Hand up by, thank you, Jeff. Okay, motioned by George, second by Jeff. All in favor? Aye. Great. 6:20. We'll catch you on the flip side, the other link for executive session. We'll see you in just a minute.
Steve, do you have the link?
I don't.
Trustee.
Hi, Penny.
Hello.
So
Hello?
I am in executive session now, but I'm just getting this all teed up so when I come out of exec, I can go right back in.
Oh, okay.
Thanks. Okay, we're now coming into open session here. Penny? Rick?
Yes.
Yes.
And there I am.
We're here.
Penny, for your benefit, Jeff motioned and Jones seconded, exiting executive session at 6:51. And here come the trustees now. One. Okay, we have everyone here. Anything else for the public portion, open portion of today's February 2nd Board of Trustees meeting? Seeing nothing, please a motion to adjourn the meeting in a second.
Good meeting. I'll move adjournment.
Thank you, Jeff. In a second, I saw Barb's hand. Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 6:52 p.m. Thank you all. Have a nice evening. Stay warm.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care,
Stay
everyone.
safe, everyone. Next couple days.